I've got the new Kat Von D Shade and Light Glimmer eyeshadow palette to share with you guys today. They actually call it the Shade and Light Glimmer Eye Contour Palette. I was so excited when I started seeing promos for this, so when I finally have it in my hands, it's like super exciting. I did go ahead and do a demo with the shades out of this palette, which is on my eyes right now, which will be towards the end of the video if you're interested in seeing that. This is like the corresponding palette to the Shade and Light all matte one, except for in a shimmer version. Like, I'll show comparisons up close side by side of the palette so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. I did use just this palette from the lid up underneath the brow because I wanted to see what kind of look would come out of just this palette, and it is pretty shiny, and especially when I'm in front of like these lights, it looks extra shiny, which I think is really pretty. But for me, it's definitely going to be a pairing palette. Like, I think this is going to pair excellent with the matte version of this palette, or the Shade and Light regular eyeshadow palette. The Kat Von D and the eye lettering on the front of this has got a holographic shift to it, whereas in the matte version it's gold. So if you're going through your collection and you want one or the other, you can distinguish between the two without opening them up. It's a nice packaging. I love that Kat Von D has gone back to a hard plastic packaging. I much prefer that over cardboard. Inside you do have a mirror, and it does hold itself up pretty nicely. And then here are all of your shades. There's 9 eyeshadows that are 0.05 ounces a piece, and then you've got the 3 larger shades which are 0.08 ounces a piece, so they're the larger ones. So everything in here has shimmer. When I get up close, I'm going to point out which shades kind of have a different type of a finish to them. And before I get into that, I did purchase the Glimmer Effect eye brush number 50, which is like the eye brush that they're promoting with the eyeshadow palette. The bristles on this brush are supposed to pick up the glitter in some of the shades better without having fallout on your face. This is a synthetic bristle brush, and it does feel like the bristles are textured. They're not like a, if you've ever felt them, some really super soft synthetics, the bristles are pretty fine, and they don't really have much of like a texture in the fiber, if that makes sense. This one does, so it's going to grab onto those sparkles a little bit better. However, it does really remind me of the bristles on a Real Techniques like eyeshadow brush, because those also have textured bristles. I do like the brush. It's a kind of a, it looks like it's going to be kind of fluffy, but it does have quite a bit of firmness to it. I used it as much as possible in the eyeshadow look, and I used it with all of the glittery shades that I used. And considering how much glitter is in some of those shades, I had a tiny bit of fallout, and I did expect more fallout, so I think the brush did do a good job. I don't think it's necessarily like a must-have. For me, it's a must-have because it's a Kat Von D brush. But it is quite similar. The bristles are similar in texture to something like a Real Techniques eyeshadow brush. But moving back onto the eyeshadow palette, I do feel like the shades are pigmented and they blend out really well. There are certain ones that have a different finish to them that don't quite have that color saturation, but they have a place. They're a really, like, the word glimmer used to describe this is a perfect word for it, because that's how I feel. I feel like they're glimmer shadows, and if you use them by themselves, like over a tacky base or something, even probably if you use like eye cream or something and you just didn't put anything on your lids, but it was just had a slight bit of moisture to it, those shades, if you were to tap them on like the lid with your finger or a brush, it would give the lid a real wet look to it, which is really pretty. So I feel like some people are going to really like those shades and some people aren't. They remind me of the Tom Ford has some pressed glitters like that, or like in his duos and creams. It's a formula like that, except for I feel like these are better because they're not so hard. They loosen up and they're easier to pick up than the ones in either of the Tom Ford ones. So I do like them, but I did get fallout with them even using the brush, and I feel like not everybody's going to vibe with them, but they are really pretty shades. Hopefully you can see a little bit better when I go ahead and swatch the palette, which I'm going to do right now. I'm going to zoom up close, and then I'll give you comparisons of the matte version and this guy right here. So here she is up close, so you can see that the lettering on the Glimmer palette is holographic, and then you've got a printout of all the shades that are inside. Again, the larger ones are 0.08 ounces, which is a hefty amount of product, and then the other ones, the 9 on the bottom, are 0.05, which again is a nice amount of product. So then we'll go ahead and open the palette up, and then you have got your mirror, and then here are your eyeshadows. Now the shades that I was talking about that have that real heavy glitter to it, that are going to give that wet look to the eye, are this guy right here, which I did pack all over my lid, and then you've got this one, these two white shades, are both that finish. This shade right here, it's called Sterling, is ever so slightly more champagne, where this is a bit more of a stark white right here, but they have the same finish. This one has got a little bit more pigmentation in it than these two, and then this one over here is also that same type of finish with a heavy glitter in it, and this one's a little bit more yellow. I used that on the inner portion of my eye today. This shade right here actually has got more of a, like a, I guess I would say it's a matte base almost, and then it's infused with silver glitter particles. It's one of those type of shades. It does have quite a bit of shine in it. It's not gritty though, like these other finishes are over here. It's a little bit more smooth, so it's like a matte eyeshadow infused with silver glitter. And then the rest of your shades, which would be this guy, this one, and then all three on the top, are like shimmer eyeshadows without chunks of glitter in them. But your shades that do have glitters in them are these two, the black, but again it's a matte base, this white right here, and then these two right here. This one right here is more finely milled. It's not chunky like like these guys right here. It's got a finer glitter to it with more pigmentation. So with that, let's go ahead and swatch these shadows. So the top three. And then we'll do these guys. So you can see the shine like on that white one. You can see just how wet looking it is. But it's a little bit less like pigmented, I guess you would say. It really has a wet finish to it, which I think is really pretty. And then these next three, and then here's another one with that real wet finish to it. I almost feel like trying those on as a highlighter on my cheekbones. I feel like this would be a really pretty highlighter. Speaking of which, did you guys see on Instagram that Kat Von D is coming out with highlighters soon? So excited. Hopefully there's one that looks like this. And then these last three. This end shade is again one of those real wet finish shades. That color is beautiful. So those are the last 6 shades right there. And then here's a side by side. The top one is the new Glimmer palette, and the bottom one is the Shade and Light matte eyeshadow palette. So you can see what I mean by the Glimmer is the corresponding shimmer shade to the matte version, which I think is cool. And I actually think that these two palettes paired together, you could really create some beautiful looks between the two. Hopefully that was helpful for you guys. I do like this eyeshadow palette. I can see some people not caring for some of the shades. Those shiny wet look shades do have fallout. It brushes off relatively easy on the skin, like when I wiped it away, but it is there, so that's something to make note of. However, on the skin, like, it does provide that really shiny wet look, which is super pretty. And again, it's going to be one of those palettes that I'm going to pair with other eyeshadow palettes, as there are no mattes in here. And I do lately especially, I really like a matte eyeshadow, a deeper matte eyeshadow through the crease, because the hood of my eye is so heavy, and it just pulls that, makes it look lifted, if you will. Now if you're interested in seeing the look that's on my eyes and kind of how these shadows worked for me, you can hang tight and we'll get into it right now. I'm going to prime my eyes with the Lily Lolo eyeshadow primer duo, and I'm just going to mix my finger between the two shades. If you guys hear ruckus back there, there's kitties again wreaking havoc all over in the room. I'm just going to use that from the lash line to up underneath the brow. I'm going to use the Kat Von D eyeshadow brush that came out, like it was kind of for this palette. I'm going to try to use it as much as I can with this look. I'm going to go into this shade right here. It's called Bronze, and it's got quite a bit of sparkle in it, but I'm going to dip the brush into that guy. And I'm going to start right here. There's quite a bit of chunky glitter I can see in the pan, so it'll be interesting to see if there's a bunch of fallout, because this brush is supposed to minimize that. That is such a pretty color. A little bit of fallout. I just dusted the brush off. I have a towel right here. And then I'm going to go into the shade over here, which also is quite sparkly. It's called Quartz. I'm going to put that one in front of the bronze shade. Again, quite a bit of glitters in it. Then I'm going to go into the shade Cinder, which is right there. I'm going to use the brush, that same brush again. Just put it out here. I do need a little bit more precision for the outer portion of my eye, so I'm going to go in with this Chikuhodo GSN 9, and I'm going to use that same shade Cinder again. I'm going to pull it out. Then I'll go back in with the Kat Von D brush and dip into this large pan. It's called Dune. And I'm going to buff this right here. That's just not quite fluffy enough, so I'm going to switch over to a Wayne Goss number 18. This is the new 18, and again with that Dune shade. I'm going to go back in with my Chikuhodo GSN 9. I didn't pick up any more product, but I'm going to buff this into that Dune color. Kind of blend it away a little bit. And then back in with the Wayne Goss. Back in with the Kat Von D brush again. I dusted it off on a towel. Let's go into one of these really sparkly white colors. I'm going to use the shade, it's called Sterling. It's slightly more golden than this white, but they have the same type of finish. I'm going to pack this guy, I think, underneath the brow. I'm going to take my finger and go into the shade Glacier, which is the lighter, if there's such a thing as a lighter white, or icier white, and I'm going to pat that right here. I feel like there's a little bit of lost dimension in there, like the colors kind of blended together a little bit too much. So I'm going to take that GSN 9 and I'm going to go into the black shade and just put a tiny bit of that in the crease. Like for me, I really need kind of a distinguished crease area because of the heavy amount of like skin out there, or the hood. Oh. And then blending that with the Wayne Goss 18. Bit more fallout here to brush off. I think that's going to get it for the eyeshadows. I did want to use everything out of that eyeshadow palette, so there's a lot of shine, but this, I really feel like this is going to be a pairing palette for me. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up my eye makeup, and I'll be right back to put on some lips for you guys. For lips, I've got Charlotte Tilbury's Lip Cheat in the shade Pink Venus. I'm going to go ahead and line my lips with that guy. And then to fill them in, I've got one of Urban Decay's new lipsticks from the summer collection. This is in the shade Fuel, and it's a cream finish. It's kind of a nude, warm nude color. And that's the overall finished look using the new Kat Von D Shade and Light Glimmer eyeshadow palette. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Thank you for watching. Do not forget to wear sunscreen, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.